Nowadays, it's pretty much impossible to enjoy top-tier ARB. To me, it's extremely boring with short moments of insane frustration. But is this really a fault of the mode? Maybe I haven't given it enough of a chance. I don't have any of the meta vehicles unlocked, and I don't have the greatest records in most of the Fox 3 slingers I do have. Maybe it's all just a skill issue. Today, I'm going to play 200 games of top-tier ARB, using a variety of strategies, vehicles, and nations in order to improve my skill and hopefully reach a more positive conclusion on the mode. I'm doing this because I believe that these jets are extremely cool, and I want to appreciate them, but I simply haven't been able to enjoy the mode enough to do so. I'm hoping to improve my skill enough to be able to have some amount of fun consistently by the end of the video. My initial goal was to finish spading the F-15C, which is something I'd set out to do a long time ago but never quite finished. My strategy in match 1 was to do what I was used to, ground hug and go to the left. I got one kill by doing this, but lost my radar when a missile exploded on the ground in front of me, and I knew I was probably finished after that. And by the way, I want to say now that this video is going to have a lot of suffering and a lot of trial and error, but I promise that by the end I will mostly have figured it out. Something I'd heard was important was to keep some distance from the main battle and pick people off at range, so I decided to try this in match 2, which was also full down tier. I guess that wasn't far enough. The original match 3 was lost, which is a good thing because I got T-boned by my teammate immediately after taking off. Match 3 take 2 had a War Thunder chat moment. I also got a kill, which is cool, I guess. Match 4, I did get a kill, but it was in such a similar manner to the last few times it's barely worth including. Match 5, I actually got a unique map, which was a good sign. This was the match that I realized I wasn't going to make it very far if I kept dying the exact same way, so I decided to play ultra passively. My goal at this point was to just make it to the end, which I did technically succeed at. Match 6, I wanted to see if I could apply a similar strategy, but, actually get kills. My first thought was to do the same thing but climb really high. This was going fine until I got spooked by some missile that probably wasn't even meant for me. I thought I was going to get this guy until he taught me an extremely valuable lesson. That being, make your missile keybind something that's actually easy to press. The next few games were recorded on the 4th of July, so I had to create the most patriotic paint job of all time. Match 7, I was excited to get a map that actually has terrain you can use to dodge missiles. This game actually went pretty well, at least by the standards of the previous few. I got a kill without dying and got the most RP of any game so far. Match 8 was actually really great. I got the new map and 4 kills, plus an awesome dogfight that ended when I was team killed by a premium F-18. I was so pissed I spectated the match to watch him get clapped. At that point, I was fully convinced we were going to lose, but my other teammate pulled off the win, meaning I picked up a good amount of RP. Match 9 was another down tier. I had a lot of hope, and it actually turned out not to be misplaced, as I got 3 more kills, including this gun kill for which I was pretty much blind thanks to the mock cloud. It didn't end very well though, as I learned another valuable lesson, that being, don't take notes while the match is ongoing. Match 10, I did get this kill before dying in a fairly painful way. Basically, there was this Yak 141 behind me, and I was fully conscious of the fact that he was going to try to shoot a long-range IR missile at me, so I was consistently pre-flaring, but it just didn't stop him. Match 11, I completely fumbled my keybinds here, but it didn't help that like 40% of the enemy team was on me for absolutely no reason. Match 12, oh hey, another down tier. And I didn't die, I guess. Match 13, I got this pretty interesting glitch with the map when I was loading in. I made some effort to dodge this missile, but thanks to the terrible fog and spotting system, I just had no idea where it was or who fired it beyond what my RWR told me. Which I guess is just a skill I'll have to pick up. Match 14, I killed someone who was completely defenseless and then let myself get flanked because I'm chronically terrible at listening to my RWR. Match 15 went surprisingly well. This kill reminded me why I take 2 9Ms instead of extra AMRAMs. I might have been able to end with another, but I mismanaged this dodge and crossed over a canyon while this missile was closing in, meaning I couldn't multipath. Match 16, this might have been a good flank if I went a little wider. Match 17, I changed my settings to start in the right radar mode. I got 2 pretty nice kills. before trying to challenge this guy to a 1v1 and getting domed. Match 18, I did get a kill before realizing going right on this map was a terrible play. Match 19, I saw this guy who was bombing in the premium F-18. I knew he was probably brain dead, so I had to take care of him before engaging in a dogfight with this other F-18. I knew I was probably gonna lose, but not via an AMRAM jump scare. Match 20, I imagine this situation was pretty unwinnable anyway, but I'd prefer not to have the crew lock. Match 21, this was one of those matches that reminded me how beautiful this game can be. Then I got completely screwed because my radar couldn't see this guy. Match 22, I actually remembered to set my spawn to the air point. This allowed me to take a wide flank while still being ahead of a lot of my team. This ended up not at all helping me, as I got, legitimately jump scared by this AAM-3. I wish I had a face cam to demonstrate how badly this got me. Match 23, I had a small but cool visual glitch. Based on the last few matches, I thought that would be the most interesting thing to happen, but this ended up being a great game. I got a bunch of kills totaling an ace, then had a cat and mouse 1v1 with this guy for a while before we both went to our airfields to rearm. I was looking forward to an awesome 1v1 dogfight until I did something absolutely idiotic that still haunts me even as I'm recording this 8 days later. I J'd out on the runway to change my loadout, so I lost the game for my entire team in the lamest possible way. On the plus side, I'm getting pretty close to spading my F-15C. Match 24, my loadout was wrong from when I changed it, which wasn't a huge deal, the 2 AMRAMs wouldn't hurt, but those 9Ms had really saved my skin in several games. I got ground bounced, and to add to the frustration, my performance tanked during this match for no reason. Despite both of these things, I managed to get 3 kills. I don't know if that's an endorsement or condemnation of top tier, but I definitely found it comical in the moment. Match 25, I was bored with ground hugging, so I decided to side climb. This ended with a trade with some guy in a substantially better aircraft, which I guess I'll take. Match 26. After restarting the game and then my PC, the performance glitch was still happening, which was annoying, but it wasn't even the most frustrating thing that happened this match, as I got ground bounced when I really shouldn't have and then died because of the terrible inconsistent tree hitboxes. Match 27. This was my first game on after taking a break. I was blasting music and I got extremely tunnel visioned. Match 28, I'm really starting to like this map. Match 29, never mind. Match 30, I have no clue how that guy dodged that thing with all these trees, but whatever. Match 31 was probably the most pathetic death yet. Match 32, I thought I was boned until this guy came in like this, but I ultimately died to a missile headshotting me. Match 33, the most notable thing that happened in this match was a constructive discussion about the quality of maps in this game. Match 34, I actually notched a missile, which was a big win for me at that point because I never really learned how. And as you can see, I'm still kind of learning. Match 35, I figured the best way to get some kills quickly was to put myself in a lot of danger, so that's what I did this round. This did actually work for a couple quick kills, but I ended up not being able to get to the ground fast enough to dodge this one. Match 36, I decided to check my stats since this was probably going to be my last match in the F-15C, and yikes. All I can say about my death this game is that it was a 1v2 against 2 superior airframes, and I think I fought valiantly. Okay, so my F-15C is finally spaded, and I'm really close to the Hornet. I still don't know if it's going to be the greatest experience, but I'm pressing on. Since I still needed a little bit of research anyway, I played a few games in the F5E to clear my head. Wow, that's a lot of mods. I have no idea what to go with first. Anyway, match 37, I'm becoming a massive hypocrite. Everything was going surprisingly well until it collapsed extremely quickly. Match 38, damn, this thing is slow. That's probably going to be a problem. Okay, this thing definitely handles differently from the F-15. Hey, wait a second, I've already done that joke. Match 40, I got damaged in a way that seems kind of ridiculous to me, but I felt better after slamming the guy who did it. I survived and started heading back to base, but my team had already secured the win. Match 41, I finally got some chaff. I also bound my flares and chaff to different keys, which is something I was laughably behind on. I was pretty annoyed and confused when this missile unlocked from this guy who was going to be a surefire kill. Match 42, this match was played so poorly I probably need to censor it. This is what my notes say for match 43. Match 44, despite the competition, this was easily the most frustrating match yet. Match 45, what was easily my best F-18 match so far, ended with a team kill. Match 46, I would have liked to say I at least got a base, but this crap happened. Match 47, I was pretty close to this base, but I had to cross over one of the only areas where this missile wouldn't be multipathable, right as it closed in. Match 48, I had a base, but I would have had a base and a kill had my radar not become schizophrenic. Match 49, I was entirely over trying to bomb bases, so I just made the ultimate loadout to destroy AI MiGs. This didn't save me from the schizo radar though. Match 50, I'll take the 2 kills, but man, I don't know if pre-flaring even does anything at top tier. Match 51, eventually I'm going to figure out what setting is eating all my FPS, but for now I have to use potato graphics. I actually got 3 kills, but one of them was a teammate. Sorry, dude. Now, between matches 52 and 67, I had a massive slump. Trying to stock grind in what was a pretty mid and slow airframe was an abysmal experience, and my notes are pretty incoherent anyway, so I'll keep things quick. Match 52, should I even count this? Match 53, why are the trees in this game supersized? Match 54. Match 55, I was absolutely shaving my nuts right here. Match 56, don't text and fly. Match 57, no way man, I might just end the video here. Match 59, at least I went down fighting. Match 60, my team stomped and I did get some kills in the process. Match 61, I'll take the gun kill, but how did I survive this and not this? 'Cause you crashed, dummy. Match 62, my notes just say, damn it man. I really hate the concept of the stock grind. Like, damn, why do I have to play all of these 30 games just to be competitive? Match 64, things went well. Don't ask how this one ended. Match 65, I'm now running 6 9Ms. I will be a close range monster. Match 66, I thought I was on a good flank, but I was actually the one being flanked. Match 67. Match 68, things actually went really well for a change. I got a good flank, and then as the herd thinned, I tried to launch a 9M and you can see where this is going. Anyway, I should have RTB'd, but I went straight in and got destroyed by some guy in a Eurofighter. Match 69, I effectively made the most of my 2 Fox 3s. I was thinking, damn, maybe I've got the hang of this top tier thing. And then I was swiftly reminded that you can't ever forget about your free look key. Match 70, I think I'm probably out of that major slump I was in for a bunch of games, but I'm still not doing as well as my teammates. I need to unlock those AMRAMs, man. Match 71, I think I'm actually starting to learn how to notch. I still need to work on my target prioritization though. I'll absolutely take these kills, but I wish this guy could have maybe been spotted earlier. My positive attitude was spoiled when I was penalized with a crew lock despite dying to an enemy. Match 72, I hit a booster to hopefully get those 120s really quickly, and I ended up dying in a way I didn't at all understand. So I went into replay mode and I kind of get it, but I'm not entirely sure why my missile missed, or how he got one off on me. Match 73, I looked up to see this guy running the exact same loadout as me. BM rims and all. Anyway, this match was on the same exact map with the same spawn as the last match, just without the booster, and I got 2 kills, so maybe the booster curse is real. Match 74, I was distracted and didn't switch to an air spawn, and yeah, this meant I wasn't able to get any kills. But on the plus side, my RWR never screamed at me, and the only moment of remote frustration in this match was when I somehow got a hit on a howitzer. Match 75 started with the other team engaging in a battle royale. This meant that a lot of them were already damaged when we started jousting, so things didn't last very long. I even made a nice contribution to getting the match over with by taking care of this Eurofighter, even if it was a bit of a sloppy trade. I was seriously debating GEing the 120s here, but realistically it's not like I'm just going to instantly become a killing machine by acquiring them, so we'll proceed to match 76 without them. Anyway, maybe I should have GE'd them. Since I'm crew locked, I'm going to do something unorthodox. I'm going to play top tier for fun. So yeah, we're back in the F-15 while I'm crew locked. And damn, this thing is so much faster. Okay, match 77 didn't end up being as lucky as the name would suggest. Match 78, we're back to the F-18, and hopefully the last game before I get my 120s. Holy username! Finally, I've achieved something I thought to be impossible, and assembled a loadout so ridiculous I've been thinking about it ever since the Hornet Sting trailer dropped. 12 missiles, 10 AMRAAMs. I will be the supreme power in every lobby that I occupy. Match 79, in between recordings I changed my loadout. I'm taking 8 Bs and 2 Cs. I was drunk with power and sent 3 AMRAAMs at this Rafale. None of them found their marks. He was angered and responded with several Micahs of his own, all of which found theirs. Match 80, I took down a Eurofighter as well as this Finnish F-18. Match 81, this game is so realistic. Match 82, I fired like 6 missiles, none of which hit anything, before getting slammed by a missile. I was definitely notching. I'm making a decision now. If I'm not close to having this thing spaded by match 100, I'm going to switch to something else. Match 83, my radar was giving me trouble, so I decided to point my nose up to use the ACM mode, and this ended up being a fatal mistake. Match 84, shouldn't have gone right, I guess. Match 85, geez, that would have been my worst match yet, which is really saying something. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting better at that thing I talked about a while back, where I can dodge a missile exclusively by the information the RWR gives me about its location. Match 86 was one of those games that was average on paper, but extremely frustrating in practice because of how close I was to not dying. Match 87, I thought my team was cooked, but I ended up having a fairly large impact and got a couple kills, making the match into a 1v1. I was listening to my playlist, and at this point my favorite song came on, which I took as a sign that the match was mine to win. I pushed the last guy, whose blind hunt had backfired, and after a short joust, destroyed him, securing the win for my team. This was easily the most fun I'd ever had at top tier, and a really memorable match. Match 88. War Killer 1 must have had his cousin playing for him or something. Match 89. This guy shot like 5 missiles at me, which to my knowledge I was notching, but I only had the RWR to rely on. Meanwhile, I shot an AMRAAM at him, which he made no effort to dodge, and it still missed. Match 90, I was behind my team, so I figured there was no harm in going straight in. That was supposed to set up a joke where I got destroyed, but this match ended up being statistically adequate, if a little boring. Match 91. Match 92. Just notch, bro. Match 93. I'll take this kill. I think I'm going to call it for the F-18 here. I've already unlocked the stupid loadout, and I'm ready to move on to something more meta. So now, I'm going to use the Eurofighter 2000. There's just one problem. I'm not gonna lie, many times during this grind I was extremely tempted to just GE the RP, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit that the only thing that stopped me was just how damn expensive it is. Why is it 3,000 golden eagles to get like 150,000 research points? That's 20 bucks for like 2 hours of grinding. Anyway, I had to get this skin. It looks awesome and it's also surprisingly cheap. So now, I'm sitting here with the Eurofighter in my hangar, and the only thing left to do is take it out for a spin. Match 94. It's been a couple days since I actually played some top tier, and apparently they fixed the schizo radar bug, but I'll be the judge of that. Okay, so far this Typhoon is awesome. Maybe not when it's stock. Match 96. Y'all remember that small matches switch that Gaijin added that never does anything? I actually got one this time. Didn't make it any more fun though. Turns out even when you're in a good plane, being stock at 14.0 absolutely sucks. Match 97. What I will say about the Typhoon is that its high-speed maneuverability just isn't what I thought it would be. It's really fast, but this can be a disadvantage, since whenever I'm ahead of my team, that just means there's going to be like 5 missiles on me. Right now, it feels like every match I'm the other team's priority target, and since they're all in space, I can't do anything to fight back. Very frustrating. Match 98 was lost. My notes are basically just me soy-facing about the fact that my radar will tell me what I'm locked onto. Match 99. Why am I getting a launch warning 30 seconds after taking off? Yeah, this map is perfectly balanced for 14.0. I'm not gonna lie, it was insanely demotivating getting destroyed this badly in a plane I'd spent 2 days grinding for. But at this point, I'd spent too damn long working on the video to turn back. Plus, the entire point was for me to get good at top tier, so this crap doesn't happen when they release the really cool stuff later down the line. Match 101. Typically, it feels like the more frustrated I am, the worse I play, but War Thunder threw me a bone with this match, and it actually went alright. It wasn't a good match by any stretch, but a massive improvement. I also realized when landing this match that the Typhoon is absolutely my favorite looking jet fighter. And this is when I actually took the picture for the thumbnail. I still died though, which I didn't let myself get that frustrated about since he had about 5 times more Fox 3s than me. Match 102, the one kill I got was pretty nice. Match 103, I duped this guy with a 9M before something similar happened to me. Match 104, I actually notched this missile but died regardless. Match 105, I dodged about 5 missiles I probably shouldn't have, but it was all in vain. Match 106, I got a kill and decided to farm some free RP on the AI attackers. This ended up being a surprisingly large mistake. Match 107, God, I can't believe I did this again. I can feel my Stat Shark rating drop with every match. Match 108, I'm gonna have to count, but there was at least 10 missiles on me here. I'm lucky I even got 1 kill. Match 109, I got 2 kills despite being the absolute priority of the other team. Match 110, surprisingly this match actually went fine. This one was a lucky Fox 3 kill, and for this one I spammed on my IR missile since he was the last guy. Match 111, I was writing notes and accidentally spawned late. Anyway, this guy took me out using guns, which I can't even complain about at that point, respect. Match 112, this match would have been more interesting if something dumb had happened. Match 113. Match 114 amazingly went well. I would have liked for that to go on much longer, but this match just wasn't that good, sadly. Match 116.
Damn it!
I unlocked my 9Ms and I forgot to change my loadout. Despite this, I actually performed pretty well. Match 117. This guy accidentally ran into me after taking off, apologized, and then got team killed. I was able to pick up a kill on a rafale, which always feels nice, and then multipath about 4 missiles. The 5th, however, would be IR, something I realized too late. The footage for match 118 was lost, but it was so boring that's probably a good thing. Match 119, I was too focused on firing some quick missiles off at the people in the back, and was completely blind to the R-73 heading towards my face. The cherry on top was when my missile got a hit. Match 120, I mean, I really don't have anything to say, this was a very standard death. Match 121, I got a decent kill. Match 123. There is literally no entertaining way to frame this match. Match 124. I got damaged by multiple missiles that landed nowhere near me. Match 25. After at least 20 hours, I finally swallowed my pride and watched 2 minutes of one guide about what you're actually supposed to do at top tier, and I immediately achieved my best Eurofighter game yet. This might have been even more kills if I was a little more patient with my missiles. I wasn't even that frustrated about my death because it ended up being a team kill. Match 126. This match wasn't as good statistically, but it was still a huge W for me. You see, I've been consistently terrible at actual BVR engagements throughout this video, which is why I've been struggling to do anything other than ground hug. In this game, I engaged in 2 BVR engagements, one of which I won outright, and the other one was a draw, which I'll take. Match 127, I was being locked by an F-14 the moment I took off, which wasn't a great sign. In terms of learning how to go defensive, this match was a triumph, but beyond that, nothing really happened. I only fired 2 missiles, only one of them hit, and that kill got stolen. Match 128, I know there's been a lot of people saying the AIM 120Bs are better than the C5s, and I'll admit that I thought this for a while to the point where I never bothered unlocking them for the Hornet, but honestly, I like the Cs better. I don't know if it's just because they perform better at range, but it seems like people have a harder time dodging them. Match 129, this match would have been really good if it was an earlier one, but I progressed enough that it was just kind of meh, which is actually a great thing when you think about it. Match 130. I don't think they actually fixed the schizophrenic radar bug. Match 131. This match was quite a lot of effort relative to the amount of kills I got, but I'll absolutely take them. Match 132. I have absolutely no idea how this Rafale dodged this, but I guess the French players deserve all they can get, which is why I haven't spent the entire video complaining about it. Until now. Match 133. I got a couple kills before the match slowed to a crawl. At this point, I was ready to get it over with, so I hit a blind hunt. I closed in on this guy and shot a missile that found its mark. However, he'd also shot about 12 missiles at me, and I G'd out before I could notch any of them. Match 134. I did God's work this match, drop-kicking another Rafale. Ultimately, though, I was poorly positioned and got touched by about 3 dudes at once. After this match, I unlocked the rest of my 120 C5s and changed my loadout. I also decided to run this missile, which I'll be calling the AIM-9I rather than the 9Ms, because I hypothesized that people would think it was a radar missile and try to notch or multipath instead of flaring. Plus, it's just a lot easier to see if it's been decoyed. Match 135. While I only got a couple kills this game, I can actually identify exactly where I went wrong. When this missile got onto me, I got spooked and started to dive towards the terrain, and this sealed my fate. Match 136, I think my 9I strategy is kind of working. Didn't get to test it that extensively since I got team killed. Match 137, I shot 6 AMRAAMs here, and none of them hit anything. I probably should have been a little more patient. What was really frustrating was when I got hit by this missile that I was absolutely low enough to multipath. Yeah, and a lot of these notes I didn't realize that you actually have to hold multipath altitude for a couple seconds before it starts working. Match 138. I think the 9I strategy actually worked here. Match 139. It's a damn shame the way this match went. There were so many 13.0s for me to destroy. Match 140. Bink, bink, bink. Oh, that was a teammate. Sorry, bro. Match 141. I got rafaled. Match 142. I thought I died without getting a kill, but there was one post-mortem. Match 143. Honestly, it's a real shame to me that Gaijin continues to increase the speed that top-tier matches are happening at. I mean, matches are consistently ending in under 5 minutes, with both teams being able to see the other on radar seconds after taking off. I really think it's time for Gaijin to innovate on the ARB formula. And please stop giving every map air spawn for the love of God. Match 144. I got a couple BVR kills this match, which was nice to see. This was another one where I can pinpoint the exact mistake that caused my death. You see, I flew just a little bit too high and started generating a contrail, which alerted this guy to my presence, getting me killed. Match 145. I should have shot a missile to deter this guy earlier. Match 146. I got a few kills with my 9I strategy and an AMRAAM slam before getting chased by the enemy team in a 1v3. Well, I decided to turn around and try to pick the F-16C off in a head-on, since I'd probably be able to beat the F-15 in a dogfight, and... Match 147. This match wasn't great, but I'm just happy I got this kill. I mean, look at this. Does this missile look like it's gonna hit anything? Match 148. I slammed this guy with an IR before notching this missile, and... damn it, I flew back into the field of view. Match 149. I'll say the kills that I got this match were all pretty clean, but I ended up dying because I'm so used to my RWR and MAWs going off when there aren't actually any threats that it was sort of a boy who cried wolf situation. Match 150. I did get one kill, but the most notable part of this match was that my RWR had so many launch warnings it was harmonizing with itself. And then I died to this guy who had kind of a boastful name, but he ended up being really damn good at the game, so respect. Match 151. This was a really nice double kill. It was so nice I decided it'd probably be more efficient to just run 4 9Is and 5 120s, which is what I did for the rest of my Eurofighter games. Match 152. I got a kill and then died to a missile I was absolutely notching. Match 153. The only thing I did was slam this guy my teammate had already effectively killed. Match 154. Should have immediately gone defensive against this guy as soon as I fired. Match 155. I somehow survived this scenario, which I was actually pretty proud about, before getting the absolute worst luck with the aspect that this 9M was launched in. Match 156. I had radar contacts the second I spawned in, which wasn't a great omen. Match 157. After that debacle, I decided to intentionally spawn on the airfield to give myself a little more time. I ended up back at altitude and decided to swoop down on this guy, which worked, but I ended up being pretty poorly positioned. I then looked behind me and saw this guy, and for some reason my brain registered him as an F-15 that was firing a 9M at me, so I tried to flare flower, but I ended up eating shit because that was actually an R-73 fired by an Su-30 SM. Match 158, I died to someone who was already effectively dead. Please remove this, Gaijin. No one likes this. Match 159, I really don't know what I'm doing differently, but notching isn't working anymore. It's time to play a little more passively, I think. This is another one of those moments where, looking back, I totally had a skill issue and was just coping, and I'm sorry. Match 160, I survived a little longer, but again, I climbed too high, generating a contrail. I realized that the biggest mistake you can make at top tier is to climb really high, since it completely reveals your position and ruins the one thing you can leverage, that being the absolutely atrocious, terrible spotting system. Match 161. Keeping these things in mind, I was able to immediately bounce back from getting obliterated and pick up 3 quick kills. The original commentary for match 162 was such unbridled cope and skill issue. I really don't want to put it in the video. I mean, I unironically said, "Gaijin, please fix," to an intentional gameplay feature. Why are we being punished for flying too low? Please remove this. Match 163, I took down this F-15 and was moving towards the enemy team when somehow this missile turned around and hit me. I was so unbelievably confused about this in the moment. You can see it in the way I look around here. Match 164, things went fine this game. After this guy, there was only one enemy left, so I hit an Avenger and chased him all the way back to the runway, expending all of my 120s. I imagine he was really confused in this moment when trying to multipath this IR missile didn't work. Oh crap, I only need 3 more kills to get to this next skin. Match 166, don't go left on city, I guess. Match 167, dude, what is my missile doing? Should have just spammed 120s, cause look where I am now. Match 168, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have no clue where the hell this guy was. Match 169, I have no idea how this guy dodged 4 of these by flying in a straight line and popping a few flares, but I got the job done in the end. Match 170. Rather than trying to notch the onslaught of early game missiles, I decided to just use the terrain. This worked pretty well, and I snatched 2 kills from the chaos. I had a huge brain fart right here and shot off a 9i rather than a 120 at this guy, and then ascended above multipath altitude, meaning not only did I lose the opportunity for a kill, I doomed myself. Match 171. No way I actually hit that missile. This was definitely one of those just notch bro type matches, cause what am I supposed to do about multiple completely unspotted missiles coming from entirely separate directions? Match 172, it happened again. Match 173, I snagged a double kill before being unceremoniously dumped by some guy I never even saw coming. Match 174, I got several really nice kills, but it all came down like a Jenga tower when this guy caught me in the worst place possible. Match 175, I don't know, you can see I tried to bomb here. It made me into even more of a brick at high speed, but I don't blame my death on the bombs. It was an unfortunate consequence of my RWR scaring me into the crosshairs of this rafale. Match 176, I was feeling pretty good about this one before this guy shot this off at me. I knew it was a 9M, but I didn't have room to maneuver against it. Match 177, this match was pretty average. I shot almost all of my missiles and got a few hits, but after mismanaging my position and losing all my speed, I only ended up with 1 kill. Match 178. Against all odds, I defeated several 120s at close range, which was extremely gratifying. Unfortunately, however, this was a close-range 1v2 at altitude, wherein both enemies were different directions away from me, so it was pretty much unwinnable. Match 179, I got a kill with a missile I thought for sure had been defeated, which was nice, but after somehow failing to notch this missile, I decided to watch several more guides, because I didn't want to end the video getting obliterated every game. So I took away from these 3 major things. 1. Turn more than 90 degrees to notch at close range. 2. Deploy chaff in bursts. And 3. Never rely on multipathing. Match 180. I smashed a couple dudes, pause, and then fumbled my notch. Match 181, I dodged about 4 120s just to die to a 9L. Match 182, I don't think I have the Hobbs capability to climb as much as I've been doing, so I'm going back to my roots this game. Ground hugging worked for 1 kill, but I played a little too passively, and the match was effectively over before I could get any more. This didn't stop me though, and I began to pursue this F-15. I was a little too fast and ripped my wings, so I had to resort to sloppy missile spam to get the kill. Match 183, I realized I've really been failing to leverage the 120's range, which is a large part of why I've been getting rinsed by Rafales and Russian jets. So I decided to just lob them off at 30 kilometers and then descend to use IRs. This actually worked very well, it might be my new strategy. Match 184, I was really strong with my positioning in this one. I used my 9-eye trick, which I'd consider to be an absolute success by the way, and ended up closing things out with an extremely sloppy gun kill that got stolen anyway. Match 185, I'm proud of the 1 kill I got missing a wing, but it would have been even cooler if this Rafale didn't somehow multipath my IR missile and this counted as a kill instead of a collision. Match 186, this was just played poorly, no way to sugarcoat that. Match 187, I knew I didn't want to go left on city, but I had no backup plan and got destroyed anyway. Match 188, although this match had a fairly unceremonious conclusion, I really can't complain since I'm just trying to finish spading this thing before I get to 200 games, so every kill counts. Match 189, well, I appear to have ended up in the MiG-29 SMT. I suppose it counts as top tier. Turns out trying to play that thing like the Eurofighter is not a winning strategy. Match 190, I got a lucky AMRAAM kill and ratted around for a few more with my IRs. Also, within normal gameplay circumstances, I completely swept the top speed claimed on the stat card, which was kind of silly. Match 191, I took a trade with this guy. Worth it? Probably not, but did I have any other options? Match 192, I had like almost a delayed double kill, where I critted both of these guys and nothing happened, but a few moments later they both crashed. Anyway, I died because I tried to take this guy down with me instead of just dodging the missile. I spectated my teammates because I wanted to be recording when I finished spading the Typhoon, and this game ended up being insanely dramatic. Match 193 was just a complete fail. Match 194, half their team climbed, and I had a missile for all of them. Only one of them impacted though, which was honestly to be expected. Match 195. I thought I was at least going to walk away with 2 kills, but it turned out I had already severed the guy I was shooting all my 9 eyes at. Match 190... Match 196. As soon as I saw this guy, I knew he was going to be my last stop on the long journey of spading the Typhoon. Although I didn't perform amazingly this match, I wasn't frustrated at all. I had finally finished spading the Eurofighter. From here, it was just a waiting game. But it's not yet time to celebrate, there are still 4 more matches to go. I decided to play them in the F-18 to see if I could perform any better using my new strategies. Match 197 was unfortunately on an EC map, but this didn't deter me. I got 2 kills, but got sucked into a 1v1 with the EF-2K, which was never bound to end well, especially when I decided to use the maneuver mode key, knowing full well it was going to put me in a worse position. Match 198. Match 199. You know what, maybe just don't do anything on Spain. Somehow, I forgot to record match 200, but luckily that's what replays are for. I went back to the F-15 so we can come full circle, but also because I was crew locked in the F-18. I was pretty pissed to see Spain for the 3rd time, but I was also just really scared to die without doing anything this match, so I stuck with my team. I cleansed this lobby of a Rafale before basically aimlessly flying around. Eventually, I saw this guy who I thought I was going to get and end with 2 kills, but my teammate snatched the kill. Surprisingly, my final match actually ended peacefully with a sweeping victory by my team. That's the end of the matches, but I still need to explain why I've hated top tier ever since Seek and Destroy dropped. Before I continue explaining why I hated top tier for a long time, I want to personally thank you for watching this far into the video, and just say that if you have any criticisms that could help me make better videos, please consider commenting. I really appreciate viewer insight. Thank you and have a good day. So why did I hate top tier? When I started playing this game, my goal was, like pretty much everyone else, to get to the top as fast as I could. There were a lot of interesting and fun stops on the journey, but several hundred hours later, I made it. My first rank 8 jet was the F-16A. It was a learning curve for sure, but still fun, and I felt a real sense of achievement when I spaded it. By this point, I'd bought the Su-25K, and before too long, I'd unlocked USSR rank 8. This was also the perfect time since it exactly coincided with the releases. This was easily the most hyped I'd ever been for anything gaming related. I'd put a talisman on my MLD and ground out the Su-27 in something like 4 hours. And guess what? It didn't disappoint. Man, I remember how I used to do a Cobra after taking off every match for good luck. Spading that thing during winter break is one of my fondest gaming memories ever, and it retains one of my best records in War Thunder for any rank 8 fighter. At that time, for me, top tier was legitimately fun. We had missiles that were kinetically extremely powerful, but dodgeable by multipathing. IRCCM missiles were easier to deal with because you had more room to stay low. There were some nations that were winners and some nations that were losers, but overall things felt balanced to some degree. And then, if I was hyped for air superiority, I was euphoric watching this trailer. I must have watched it 10 times. I even tried the thing that was going around on TikTok where if you played the song Seek and Destroy, it matched up with the trailer, and it practically knocked me out when it actually worked. So update day comes, and Gaijin did something kind of uncharacteristic but extremely helpful. They did this thing where if you had already spaded a jet to which Fox 3s had been added, and you played a game in it, you got them instantly afterwards. So I tried a couple jets that they'd been added to, and these first few matches were extremely strange. I didn't really get that many kills because the teams often seemed to evaporate. Whenever I tried to multipath, it just didn't work at all. But I imagine my enemies were having similar struggles because, assuming my teammates didn't get the enemies first, my AMRAAMs had a 95% success rate. After a couple days, I unlocked the F-15C and set out to spade it. About a year later, I hadn't even gotten all the performance updates. When Hornet's Sting came out, featuring one of my most anticipated vehicles, the F-18, I barely got 100,000 RP into it. My disappointment with those things is what led me to make the video you just watched. I think the problem with top tier in this day and age is that the framework of 16v16 ARB as it is today was not at all made for this kind of missile-focused gameplay. Then why'd you like top tier before Seek and Destroy? Because the higher multipath limit made it far easier to actually focus on playing the game. I'm not saying that top tier was especially good or balanced, but it was at least fun a majority of the time. So that's enough complaining. How do I think Gaijin can make top tier better? So a lot of people have suggested something like ARB EC with more strategic / objective focused gameplay, and I love this idea, but I can understand that it would be pretty hard for them to implement. One idea I've had that would be an exceptionally easy implementation is some kind of guns-only mode that encourages 1v1s. I think this would be really fun, but it also probably would be too unrealistic for Gaijin and sacrifices the unique skill set and appeal of top tier. One change I'm kind of salty they haven't made is that after everyone begged for months for Gaijin to add some kind of option to have 16-player matches instead of 32 at top tier, they added a switch that's supposed to enable joining smaller matches, and it does absolutely nothing. I played 200 games in this video, and I think 1 or 2 of them warrant 16v16. Would it really be that hard to fix this feature that's supposed to already be in the game? Maybe they could just give us multiple airfields and respawns every time, like some kind of EC Lite. An idea I've had for a really long time is that they could give us a 1v1 style mode that spawns 2 players 100 kilometers away from each other on a circular map with a high SL reward for winning the 1v1. To prevent metas from forming and ruining it, players don't simply choose a plane and join the mode, but rather choose which rank they want to 1v1 in, and then select which fighter they want to use for every nation they have unlocked. From here, their plane will be randomly selected, and they'll be matched with another player assigned that jet. So you somehow reach the end. If you genuinely enjoyed the video and want more like it, the best way to communicate that is to subscribe. As an avid YouTube viewer as well as a creator, I despise when people's first thing they tell you to do is to subscribe. Like, damn, I haven't even watched the video yet. Like, do I even enjoy your content? I don't know yet. No, but seriously, if you're watching this, it means that at least one person was able to appreciate all the work that I put into this, and thank you for that. And remember, just notch, bro.